Now to a Crime Watch Daily investigation into a troubling problem in our nation's capital that's branching out to more and more cities every day. Hundreds of motorcycles and off-road vehicles taking over the streets. Michelle Sagona is here with the troubling story of the DC bikers. Michelle?
Matt, most of these bikers are just out to have a good time and show off. But now, police say there's another side to these guys, one that ended in an innocent victim being killed.
Anarchy rules the streets in the shadow of the nation's capital. Young men and women tearing through traffic with reckless abandon on motorcycles and ATVs in Washington, D.C., turning one-way streets into suicide lanes, taunting police, even kicking cop cars, with absolutely no regard for the law or human life.
She always saw the best in you.
Francine Milton's daughter, Charnice, was caught in the crossfire of this nightmare on wheels. Her heartbroken father now hunting for justice.
It was a black gang member that pulled my daughter to his chest so that she could receive the bullet intended for him in her chest. And then, like cowards, all 14 of them rode off into the night and dropped her. It was Officer M.D. Smith who stood in my place that night and held my baby as she was gasping her last breath.
Seconds after that fatal shot, a surveillance camera captures 14 riders racing from the scene. Charnice Milton was an innocent victim, simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. A DC native and journalist who stepped off a bus heading home from covering a story. Charnice was a young woman living her lifelong dream.
She knew she wanted to be a reporter.
She wanted to be a reporter. She wanted to write. She tried other things, but nothing else really fit her.
Yeah.
But this she really, really, really wanted to do, and she felt strongly about it.
Her Capital Community News editor knew Charnice was special the minute she walked through the door.
She came into my office, she dressed up for the occasion, and she says, I want to work for your newspapers. I want to report on the community for your papers. And so I took her up on it.
Her assignments took Charnice all over DC. Charnice had the drive, she had the talent, she had the words.
She wrote about communities, both her own community and communities elsewhere in DC, and she was committed and she worked hard.
Charnice didn't own a car, and that always worried her mom. She knows how dangerous the streets of DC can be. Charnice and her mom had a standing agreement.
I always told her, never be where no one knows where you are. No matter what, always let somebody know. So we knew 9/28, she had left the meeting and was on her way home.
And Francine Milton's worst fears became a tragic reality one terrible night at a bus stop on Good Hope Road.
A continuing police investigation has not formally named a suspect, but this case remains at the top of the pile.
We followed up on numerous tips.
Captain Anthony Haith of the DC Police Homicide Branch is the lead detective in the search for a killer. He continually pores over that surveillance video showing those 14 bikers racing away from the scene just seconds after the shooting. He's hoping somebody will come forward and identify one of the riders as the person who shot and killed Charnice.
Tips continue to come in. Just haven't been enough to get us to that area where we can apply for a warrant and arrest someone.
But who are these marauding thugs who rule the streets of DC with fear?
The ATVs and the dirt bikes are not legal vehicles. It's not legal to operate them on public spaces. And it's not just that they're driving up and down the street. They're doing wheelies, they're hanging off the vehicle, even with multiple riders on the vehicle, hanging off, doing wheelies, and just behaving in a very dangerous way.
So if it's illegal, why aren't the cops in DC hauling them in by the wagon load?
The chief came up with a no chase policy that we're not going to chase these vehicles. The only thing we chase anything for in the city is for very violent felonies. No police officer wants to have a situation where an innocent person is hurt or, God forbid, killed because of an ATV rider that they were chasing.
Knowing they can't be chased is making the problem worse. These bullies on bikes have become even more brazen. The riders actually go after the police now. If they're willing to take on the cops face to face, it's clear that Sharnice Milton never had a chance. So as the investigation into her murder continues, we are left, for now, with what Sharnice loved the most: words. From a broken-hearted father, words of warning to those who protect a killer.
Someday you're going to have someone who's on that listing of over 50 unresolved homicides in the District of Columbia, and someday you're going to be dependent on 8 detectives to find your baby's killers.
From a mentor and a friend, words of appeal.
Sharnice was an important person to her family, to the communities that she served, and to the city. And somebody should take the time to pick up the phone and call with a name. It can take one call. Cops will do the rest. She was not anonymous.
And from a mother, words of peace.
She always saw the best in you. When everyone else may see the worst, she sees the best.
And if you knew Sharnice, if she had the opportunity to write her own story right now, she would probably write something favorable about the people that killed her.
Michelle, it seems absolutely outrageous that DC police are powerless here. They can't do anything about this?
They cannot do anything about this. There's a no chase policy. The area itself really isn't that big to go out and to chase them, and so it's probably going to cause more problems in the long run.
It seems just amazing that they could be immune. What about the gunman in this case? I mean, the search there has been enormous. Was he ever found?
It is enormous. That person has never been found. There are females and males on the backs of those bikes that night that have information. So we really need these people to speak up and to say something. Sharnice and her family need justice.
Absolutely they do. Of those 14 they've identified, none of them.
None of them.
Thanks so much, Michelle. Hopefully these guys will at least see this story and think twice about exactly what they're doing. Now let's take a look at still what else is to come on Crime Watch Daily.